Whether you live in New York, New Jersey, or Delaware, weather is a really big deal. And Delaware's weather is extremely interesting. I want to go through some of the historical data. Now, I'm a nerd, so I went through the last 10 years of Delaware's data as it comes to weather to get the most accurate info possible when discussing what Delaware's climate's like. So the average temperatures by season, starting with fall. Fall's average high is going to be 58.5 degrees with an average low of 36.5 degrees. Spring's average high is going to bring you a 62 degree average, and the low is going to get down to about 41 degrees. So a little bit more temperate in the spring as opposed to the fall. That makes sense. Moving into summer and winter. Winter, our average high is 38 degrees, a little chilly, and average low 19.5 degrees. We're not going below zero or anything, or it's rare we're even in the teens. So we do get some colder winters, and we'll talk about snow here in a minute. The average high in the summer in Delaware is 83.5 degrees over the last 10 years, and our average lows have been right at 64 degrees. And to me, a 64 degree summer in Delaware is peak weather. Closely followed by the fall in Delaware, because like that 55 degree, got a hoodie on, walking through the leaves. Love it. Let's move into precipitation. The average winter rainfall in Delaware is 7.5 inches, where fall is the only thing less with 6.5 inches normally coming during that season. The two rainiest seasons, though, for us are going to be spring and summer. Spring being just over 12 inches of rain through the season. As they say, April flowers are brought by May flowers. I messed that up. And summer bringing a surprising 17 inches of rain. I say surprising, but based off the thunderstorms we're going to talk about here in a second, it's not super surprising. We have some big storms that roll through in the summer. Now, before we get off of rain, is flooding an issue in Delaware that one should be concerned with? No. Coastal flooding is definitely possible along any coast in the United States. So if you're living right on the sand, having flood insurance, or right off a giant lake or pond that's near the coast, having flood insurance is probably going to be something you're going to want. But is coastal flooding and or regional flooding a big issue in Delaware? Largely, no. And the reason? We're flat. We don't have these bowls or large just valleys or crevasses where water can build up. We're a very flat state with a slightly higher water table than most, but it ultimately takes a big storm for areas like ours to get flooded. I will say there are some back roads and definitely places like Bowers Beach that will experience some flooding simply due to different just movements in the road when we're getting big rainstorms. Moving from rain to snow, in Delaware, you can expect our winters to have 3.5 to 5 storms per winter. Now, this is starting in late November and ending in about mid-March. That's the typical time frame where you could see the snow line up, the temperature's good, the precipitation happens. And over those storms, you can expect through the season, and again, this is all the storms combined through that season, that 3 to 5 storms could bring 12 to 14.5 inches per season. Now, there are some preparations I would make for Delaware's winter. It's not going to be extremely aggressive, but one preparation I'd absolutely state is having a shovel and snow, not a plastic shovel. Get not a metal tipped shovel, get a full metal snow shovel. It'll make your life so much easier in clearing a driveway, clearing a sidewalk. And another preparation I would make is make sure that your HOA, community neighborhood, or just whoever you're around is aware of who's cleaning the main roads that get you to the highways. Now, the good thing about lower, slower Delaware is the more southern you get, the more likely you are to get some guy or gal to strap up a snowplow to the front of their pickup and take care of the roads just because they want to. But as far as preparation go, I'd also suggest a generator. Having a personal generator year-round for thunderstorms, for the potential of threat of a hurricane or tornado. We'll talk about that in a second. As well as snow, it's great to have a generator just in case for your food, for your heating and AC, just for you. And I think I mentioned this already, but having a little salt sprinkle on the stairs and the bricks. Now, more numbers. Let's get to wind. We are a coastal state, so 5 to 7 miles an hour a day is our average, with gusts getting into the 7 to 10 mile an hour range on a day-to-day basis. Pretty standard, a little higher than most states, but not much. And you won't see much of this as you get more into Newcastle, where you'll see areas in Sussex County tend to be windier. Why is that? Well, if you look at how Delaware is shaped off of the coast, Jersey actually protects a good bit of Delaware from our coastal winds, whereas southern Delaware, right near the beaches, has a stronger target to get hit by these coastal winds, as well as, my theory too, more fields in southern Delaware lead to higher wind potential just because there's not as many trees or buildings. Humidity in Delaware year round, you can expect a 40 to 60% range, where in the hotter seasons, a 60 to 80% range, making Delaware feel a little bit more of that wet heat, but not nearly as dramatic as those 100% humidity days, which do come and go, and usually in like 3 to 4 day spans. But just like a big winter storm is rare, and is probably only going to happen once or twice a season. Now, speaking of season, my favorite season for me and my daughter to sit out on our porch and watch is definitely going to be thunderstorm season. And once you get through June and past August, that's going to be where all the fun thunderstorms happen. You can expect 11 to 15 thunderstorms per season in Delaware. And for me, I love the rain that comes pounding with it. These typically do bring more rain than those spring storms, as we mentioned earlier, with a slightly higher rain total on average for the last 10 years, happening in Delaware over the summer instead of the spring. Now, I want to get into tornadoes, hurricanes, and how to prep. But before that, if you love this real-time Delaware data analytics, we created a report that updates every 30 days, and it goes directly to you, so that once we have this updated information on how much homes are going for, what's a mortgage like these days, when are home prices potentially coming down, all of that and more is in this Loft report, and it goes right to you. You don't have to ask for it, and you're not going to get bombarded with any marketing information. Just hit this QR code or the link in bio if you're on mobile. But let's get into this. Tornadoes and hurricanes. Are they going to happen in Delaware? Is this something you should be concerned about? It's something that's going to be prepared for, but not something you're going to be concerned about. The real-time data would be interesting, though, to read into, and so that's what I'm going to tell you. 35 years of historical data for Delaware has landed us 18 and a half. I'm not really sure where the half came from. 18 and a half tornadoes. That's essentially one every 2 years. But in the last 6 years for Delaware, so since 2018 until 2024 when this is being recorded, we have now experienced a click up to now 1.5 tornadoes per year. That's interesting. And it's, again, nothing to be abruptly concerned about, because our average highs haven't shot up, our storm ratios and for thunderstorms haven't shot up. It seems to be more of an anomaly, but we did have 1 year where we had 4 that touched down, and some would argue it's 3 because I think it was 1 that bounced around a couple times. But regardless, it's something to prepare for in ways of like having a generator, those tiny things that could make sure that life doesn't get disrupted when things like this can happen. Brick buildings and well-built homes not being in a trailer are also things that can help if a tornado were to hit, but again, rare and not something I would overtly plan my lifestyle around. Again, hurricanes, though, can wreck and destroy lifestyles. And that's why Delaware, thankfully, is in a place where you're not going to have to worry about that. With hurricanes directly impacting Delaware in our day-to-day lifestyle, like, hey, stay home from work, hey, don't go outside, only once every 8.5 years. Hurricane Sandy, which you may remember impacting New Jersey just north of us pretty heavily, impacted Delaware to a decent amount, but it ended up just being rain, wind, and normal damage to come from storms with rain and wind. It's not something I would plan a lifestyle around or be concerned about when thinking about moving to Delaware. And if you are thinking of moving to Delaware at this exact moment, I'd love to have a text with you. Just text me, hey, Zach, how's the weather in Delaware? Or, hey, Zach, I want to buy a house. Or, hey, Zach, what's the market like? I'd love to have a conversation with you. Text me at 302-503-6647. And if you don't want to move to Delaware, you're just wanting more information on what it's like here in the great state, and maybe even thinking about 10 years from now, or a friend of yours, go ahead and subscribe. We bring out monthly videos that update everything there is to do with Delaware, and day-to-day and week-to-week updates to keep you fed with fun content that's valuable around the great state of Delaware. So hit the like button, hit subscribe, and comment below. What's the weather in Delaware like today, or where you're from? Interested to know. Talk with you soon.